before our very eyes. And I'm not just talking about his brain, I'm obviously talking about Donald Trump's body as well. All the dripping wax that is his disfigured form at this point is what? Down to his cankles. It's like come off of his hands and is slipping down like his disgusting body. I know that's a gross image, but it's just the truth. Donald Trump is in cognitive and physical decline, and the cognitive decline was just made very, very clear as Donald Trump was quite literally unable to speak and admitted to it as he tried to cover it up in what was just a disaster speech, if you can call it that. We're going to get into it all and talk about Donald Trump's cognitive decline. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that moment of Donald Trump really struggling to speak, I want to start with the goop on his body that has made his cognitive decline so clear, and it's in this article right here. 79-year-old Trump slathers bruised hand with mismatched makeup. Donald Trump used poorly matched makeup to cover his reoccurring bruise on his hand for his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump, 79, unveiled a new plan for ending the war in Gaza, not really, of course, and achieving peace in the Middle East Monday after holding talks with Netanyahu. During the joint press conference, a photographer zoomed in on Trump's right hand, which has sported a dark mark for months. Trump once again had slathered beige makeup across the back of his hand, though the cosmetic layer appeared practically off in tone this time, clashing visibly with his natural complexion. The president has been dabbling in a rotating palette of shades and shine levels to try to cover up the purple bruise, which the White House insists is just minor soft tissue irritation caused by frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regime. Still, Trump has gone to lengths to hide the bruise, whether by dabbing on makeup, clasping it with his left hand, or tucking his hands under the table, further fueling speculation around his health. The oldest person ever inaugurated as president, Trump is frequently seen with swollen ankles, having been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, a condition common in seniors in which blood pools in the legs due to poor circulation. As we see right here, the bruises on Trump's tiny little hands, not looking too hot. Trump also regularly suffers mental lapses, including during his rambling announcement on Monday. Trump sounded tired, jumbled words as he tried to credit a number of Arab nations and leaders for their support in developing the proposal. As Trump's incoherent rambles and gaffes have mounted, psychologist Dr. John Gartner told the Daily Beast podcast's Joanna Coles he believes the president has dementia and is undergoing a major deterioration of his language skills, motor skills, and impulse control. Meanwhile, health challenges facing seniors appear to be on Trump's own mind. On Sunday, he shared a video on Truth Social promoting medical cannabis for seniors who struggle with pain, inflammation, cognitive decline, and other ailments. All right, so yeah, Donald Trump is melting and always wanted to capitalize on the grift. He decided CBD, let's legalize marijuana as long as I can make money off of it. I guess that is the new angle of the Trump administration, an all-out effort to maybe boost the popularity by legalizing the chronic, and I guess this is Donald Trump's way out. It doesn't really seem to be working, but nothing seems to be working with Donald Trump. The problem is that has always been the case. Like Lawrence O'Donnell said it perfectly here.
Well, if Donald Trump gets dementia, how will we know? Donald Trump's mental decline, which is more and more obvious, started from such a low level of mental processing power that it's hard to track his decline. It's from low to lower.
How are we supposed to know? Like, really? Like, this is not a joke by Lawrence O'Donnell. And I personally come back to this clip so much as someone who has followed, unfortunately, so much of what Donald Trump has said throughout the entirety of his political career. And God, it has been so long. It has literally been my entire adult life and the end of my teenage years. I'm not loving it, guys. If we could wrap this up, that'd be really fantastic. But yeah, he is in obvious cognitive decline, and we are going to point it out when the mainstream media doesn't, because Donald Trump even points it out. Just listen to him trying to say the word Abraham and giving an excuse as to why he can't.
Israel than I have, in addition to negotiating the Abraham Accords. I like to say it that way because the real people, that's what they call Abraham. I would say Abraham, but it's so much nicer when you say Abraham. so much more elegant. But the Abraham Accords, they're amazing. Jared, you did that along with your group of geniuses.
I guess we're at the point where Donald Trump is no longer doing the thing where he says Tim Cook is Tim Apple. And then later that day is like, well, you didn't hear me. Do you remember this? When he says, you didn't hear me, I said Tim Cook from Apple. But I said it so fast because, quite frankly, I'm so wonderful with speech and we call it speech. And now Donald Trump is just being like, I can't say these words because it's you that's wrong. What's up? That's my argument. I'm not in decline. You're in decline. Who said that? I can't remember anything. Where are we? Like, that is Trump at this point. That is Trump at this point. He's like, I can't say words because my brain don't work no good. And your fault. And blame Biden and teleprompter. Like, that is the average summary of a Trump speech at this point. And then I guess he'll throw something in there like, we're remodeling some aspect of the White House to make it worse. I don't even want to give him the material, but this is Trump. He is weak, he is feeble, he is falling apart, and it's not just when he speaks, it is his actions which are blowing up in his face as well. And you don't have to look far, depending on where you are in the geographic United States, to check that out, because it's happening in Oregon right now.
The Trump administration has gone ahead and ordered those troops deployed anyway, and now the city of Portland and the state of Oregon are pushing back both in court in a lawsuit they filed essentially instantly as soon as the deployment order was made, and also in peaceful protests, including at least one major protest this weekend that the governor herself helped lead. Joining us now is Oregon's Democratic Governor Tina Kotek. Governor, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know there's a lot going on, and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Rachel. Good to be here.
What do you want the country to understand about the order from the president to deploy troops in your state? What do you understand about what they're going to be doing and what the scope of this sort of impingement on your authority is going to be?
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, I want people to know that Portland, Oregon is a beautiful, vibrant, successful city. We are not a war zone. I was out there all weekend long. People were out and about, shopping, going to restaurants, going to soccer matches, going to shows. Portland is a beautiful place, and we are not under siege. There's no insurrection here. When the president makes a choice to say, I should have military troops in my state, I push back right away. We were not apprised of the reason for this. When I tried to get that from the president, it was about concerns about safety at a federal facility. And I said, look, law enforcement is on top of it. There's peaceful protests. And if people are getting out of line, they are being held accountable. I continue to not understand what the mission is here, but we don't need military intervention in Portland. And it's just unconscionable. It's nonsensical, has nothing to do with what's actually on the ground here.
I know that you spoke directly with President Trump around the time that he was making this decision, and there's been some reporting about that conversation that suggests that the president might have been basing his decision, or at least basing like his stated grounds for the decision, on some inaccurate or outdated information that he has seen on social media, maybe without understanding that it wasn't current information. Can you help us understand that at all?
Well, that is my concern. You know, that's a challenge, I think, with footage that it becomes evergreen and then you don't know when it was taken. Because when I was speaking with him, he was talking about multiple federal facilities. And I was like, you know, the plywood is down. Downtown Portland is on the mend. We don't have the situation we had 5 years ago. I don't know what he is remembering, but what I do know is that local law enforcement can manage the situation that's related to the peaceful protests that are happening at the federal facility. And I think one of the things I'm so frustrated about is he is calling up the Oregon National Guard over top of my role as commander-in-chief of those troops here in Oregon. The Oregon National Guard, these are private citizens, citizen soldiers, right? They volunteer for this role. They have to come off their jobs, go away from their families to do something that is unclear, undefined, with no strategy of what they're actually trying to solve. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And most Oregonians know this makes absolutely no sense.
I know that as part of this lawsuit that the state has filed to try to block this deployment, both Portland Police and Oregon State Police have issued statements, declarations saying they don't need or want federal troops in Portland to deal with protesters, not only from your perspective as the state's governor, but from their perspective as the relevant law enforcement here. They're saying that federal troops would not help and they don't need it. I'm wondering how that kind of reaction from law enforcement, kind of support for your side of this argument from law enforcement may bolster this case. It seems to me like a really important factor here.
Well, as a responsible governor, I go and ask law enforcement, do you need additional help? Is there something you can't manage? And what I'm hearing is no. We've not had an ask of the Oregon State Police at this point to help even the Portland Police manage the ongoing sporadic demonstrations that are of concern to the federal administration. And when I spoke to Homeland Security NOAM and as well as the president, I said, I don't understand what is the concern that we can't manage here. And I think it's really important to point out that the groundswell of support, or at least the opposition to the deployment, business leaders, we had business leaders at our press conference saying, look, this is not what downtown Portland needs. We're on the rise. You're sending the wrong message. We have mayors across the greater Portland area saying, we stand with Portland. There's not an issue here. And if there is mutual aid opportunities if that's the case. So I'm perplexed. I'm frustrated. I don't understand this. And we're fighting in the courts, right? The attorney general and I are lockstep. He went to court the day we got the order. I was hoping we'd get some more time to actually talk this through, but the president just came out on a Sunday morning and said, our troops, you're going to take your troops and they're coming to town. That is not how we should do this. This is not what our country should look like. And when I was on the protest in the demonstration line yesterday, walking with the mayor, we value our ability as Americans, as Oregonians, to express our concern about this administration. And people are going to continue to do that lawfully. We can keep people safe and have lawful demonstrations. And that's what we want to do here. And we do not need the help of the federal administration.
Oregon's Democratic Governor Tina Kotek. Governor, thank you so much for your time this evening. I know it's a stressful time right now to have the job that you have, but I really appreciate you helping us understand it. Thank you.
I talk about this so much, specifically around issues of immigration, that we have an opportunity to do something that Democrats neglect so often, which is convince and convert and change people's minds. Donald Trump's illegal attack on Portland, on Chicago, Baltimore down the line, Memphis, of course, D.C., is an opportunity for us to talk about how little he actually cares about crime and what we are actually doing to fight it. That's something Democrats should be all over all the time and convince people that our record is better, our policy proposals are better, and you should trust Democrats on this issue. We are certainly going to work to make that happen on this show. If you want to support that, and if you agree with that, and I hope you do, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and if you want to support the show in another way, you can become a free or paid member to my Substack, linked right here and down below. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.